Ballond'OR nominations, injury setback, and then of course world champions coming back in a preseason friendly and showing their class. Let's get to it. Hey Chelsea fans, welcome to CFC Unfiltered. I'm your host Anirudh, and CFC Unfiltered is a place for Chelsea fans by a Chelsea fan. And in this channel, I react, I give you my opinions, analysis to all things Chelsea, be it transfers, be it rumors or stories emerging in and around the club, be it pre-match and post-match thoughts about Chelsea, right? So yeah, let's get to it. And today's today's video, sorry, episode. And today's video, I wanted to talk about obviously the crazy 24 to 48 hours we had since I last sent out the video. We had Ballond'OR nominations. We had, very sad injury setback for Levi Colwill, and then we just saw the friendly and Chelsea fans after yesterday's a bit of setback where everyone went a little bit emotional. I can see a lot of Chelsea accounts panicking. There were a lot of positives today. So, let's start with, first of all, with the negative part before we get to the positive part, because that is an important aspect of which will lead to some of the discussions what we have later on this video. So, yesterday we heard sad news that Levi Colwill has an ACL injury. He has had a successful injury. So the injury occurred on Monday. It was a non-contact injury. I was personally hoping it was a hamstring injury or something like that, so that he's maybe out for 2 months or maybe something like that, or 3 months, and then he's back. But unfortunately, it's an ACL injury. He's out for at least 6-7 months, right? So almost maybe he'll come back for the last stretch of the season, but beyond that he's quite out. Fabrizio, when this injury happened, a lot of people were sad and emotional, obviously, because Levi Colwill is a very important part of Chelsea's backline. You can see that he had started to grow into a player that Chelsea fans and Chelsea management thought he would become, right? Because we could see the leadership, the defending ability. Of course, he always had that ball playing ability. So to see this with Levi Colwill, especially when it was all coming together, is a bit sad, right? It's not the end of the world like some Chelsea accounts are suggesting. It's sad and it's unfortunate, and I really feel bad especially for the player as Levi Colwill. I, of course, as a Chelsea fan, and of course as most Chelsea fans, we do feel sad that this has happened right now. But to put context to it, if you're, let's say, in a game, right, and you're going to concede a goal, so would you prefer to concede it in the first or second minute, or would you rather concede it in the last minute? So for me, it's always better to concede in a first minute or second minute rather than last, because then you have time to recover, right? And it's the same with Levi Colwill's injury, right? So as sad as it is, the silver lining is that we do have chances to basically understand and eliminate issues that can come up because of this injury, right? Now, immediately after his injury happened, Chelsea's accounts, a lot of fan accounts started to go, become a lot of emotional. There were also a lot of that we should get this player and that player, and Fabrizio Romano immediately came out, which was very much most likely a brief from Chelsea, that there is no emergency plan, immediate plan, right? And Chelsea fans, of course, again got a little bit more emotional because they really wanted, and you have to understand, from Chelsea hierarchy's perspective, that they would have known the injury, the official injury, that Levi Colwill had this injury only maybe a few moments ago, maybe an hour ago, few hours ago, before us, right? And obviously you can't just go in, buy a defender for the sake of defender. You have to basically just take a stake at what the situation is, and have an internal discussion of who we need to bring in, because it can't be just a grab someone for 6 months or 7 months and then not worry about it. If we bring in a defender, it should be someone who is doesn't just help with the short term but also with the long term, right? It has to be both, right? It can't be just it just solves a short term problem of few months and then we forget about it, right? It can't be that. So the for from my perspective, that is what the club was issuing through Fabrizio Romano, that we are not going to panic. We're just not going to just draw up emergency list and then just get someone, because you also have to understand, if we did that, prices of center backs that we would be looking into would just shoot up, at least by 5 or 10 million pounds, maybe more, maybe 20, right? And we don't want that. So that is an important part for all Chelsea fans to remember, that you when you're in that situation and you're professional, right? You can't be making these decisions from an emotional point of view. You have to be pragmatic, and you have to look at the broader picture and then see, what is the best decision, what is the best course of action moving forward, whether we do it internally or externally. So there is something Chelsea fans need to understand. I'm not trying to defend the hierarchy, but what I'm saying is, when you're in this position, that's if I was in that position, those are the kind of that it's the same brief I would have put out, that we're not going to draw up emergency, even if I'm thinking like we need to get a defender, but I'm going to put out that brief, because what I don't want to is increase send this panic, when you're going to do panic buy, because that will increase the the price tag of anyone we go after, because we look just desperate. So you do not want to be like, we even if you are desperate, you want to look like you don't need them, right? You can survive, and that's kind of like what Chelsea, in terms of negotiation power, probably want. So once this happened, there were a lot of discussion, like we could bring Renato Viega back, right? And for me that made sense. Maybe we can bring him back if we are not bringing someone out, but that seems to be firmly dismissed now, because Fabrizio Romano basically said that the plans are still that Nkunku goes, Jackson goes, Sterling goes, and of course Viega goes and Chilwell goes. So these players are going, right? So we are still looking for these exits, basically. So that is an important part, that we are looking for the exits of these players, and that has escaped. Now, we had a preseason friendly. We have only two this time because of the Club World Cup. players needed their vacation, 3 weeks, and before they came back and started this season again, preparation for the upcoming season. So we had match today with Bayer Leverkusen, which we won 2-0. I'm going to go into that, about some of the positives that I saw. But more importantly, Enzo Maresca was asked about the Levi Colwill situation, what has happened, and what exactly, is he going to go into the market, or is it that he's going to look for internal situations, because that is what he tried to do during the match, right? So this is basically what he said. So it's a priority that we strengthen the defense, because Levi was fantastic. He was a part of it. So basically, he said all of that. And what I see it as one or two things. So Chelsea it was at that point of time, Chelsea didn't want to panic. And what they put out a statement at that point of time, they needed to maybe have a discussion. The directors, recruitment, the scouts, and Maresca, and the coaching team needed to have this discussion internally first. What course of action will be best? What should we do? Uh, to make sure that the season is a success, right? Because that is what's important, right? So they need to have discussion. So since Chelsea sent out that briefing through Fabrizio Romano, to now, that discussion has taken place, and then the course of action is that they need to bring a defender, right? So that is one probability. The other probability is that club put out that statement from the management side, and what Enzo Maresca thinks differently. He's like, I need to maybe put some pressure in that we need to get a center back, because I think we need it, right? So he's put out a statement there to put the management in, a little bit of pressure, so that we need to bring a center back. I'm telling you right now, we will need it, and we will see what happens about it. So those are one of the two things which I think might have happened. We really don't know at this point of time. I won't be surprised with either of these are true. We will just have to see in the hours and days uh, to come, how exactly this situation transpires. But it looks like we are going to go maybe for a defender. Uh, Now there are some sources which are saying we actually have checked in with, because there were a lot of you know targets which Chelsea fans were discussing. Uh, Players we could go for to replace Levi Colwill, and one came up regularly with us, Marc Guehi. So he's someone from Chelsea Academy. He knows the club well. He has leadership qualities. He can play with Chalobah, Levi Colwill. So with both in the short term and the long term, that seems to be a good fit, right? And he's in the last year of the contract, so the price will most likely be not that high. So in paper it seemed uh, makes sense, but I can confirm to you that is unlikely to happen. Even though Maresca said he likes Guehi, but I would say 99% that is not going to happen. So because I heard from Mark Goldbridge, who has pretty good contacts within Chelsea, both in the hierarchy and with players. It is his understanding Marc Guehi doesn't want to come to Chelsea, so or Chelsea doesn't want to go to him. That was unclear, but he basically said Marc Guehi to Chelsea is not happening. So uh, you know uh, we will see. Because that was in contradiction with something Maresca said. He said something like, I like Marc Guehi, but he's not a Chelsea player. So maybe he, privately it was something else, and maybe publicly it's something else. We don't know. but I would be really surprised if he comes to Chelsea. Um, it may happen still, but I would, if I'm putting a bet on it, I would say probably not. So Chelsea probably do need to look at other targets. There are center backs that can come in. So we will just have to wait and watch and see what happens there, what develops there. I do, as a Chelsea fan, personally hope that we do get a centre back, right? Um, so let's see what happens there. So yesterday, before the Colwill injury, it started as somewhat of a positive day for us, because despite the fact that Chelsea last season were not in Champions League, Chelsea's players, manager, team got nominated in Ballon d'Or. So Ballon d'Or nominations came out, and you can see, in the right hand side, top right hand side, right, uh, Cole Palmer's name in it, right, just below Michael Olace's. So Cole Palmer, because of Club World Cup, because how we performed there, and how we dismantled PSG is what has transpired, is that Chelsea are now seen as a powerhouse. How we finished the season, we got in top four, we won the Conference League, right? It's not because of that, but that does play a part of it. They play a small part in it, and then of course the way we performed in Club World Cup, it was just too big to ignore. And now Cole Palmer is where he deserves to be, essentially in one of the top players in the world, in a be among the best, and he's in Ballon d'Or nominations. I know a lot of Chelsea fans were sad that that was not the case last season, but he is now here. I know there are still people who are sad that Caicedo or Enzo did not make it, or Cucurella didn't make it. But it's okay, we were not in the Champions League, so not everyone will get in, but it's a good start, Chelsea fans. Okay, let's celebrate. Let's not be nitpicky on what didn't happen. Let's celebrate what has happened. Estêvão also got elected for a Young Player of the Year, right? So you know, that is also good news. We have two players who are in Ballon d'Or. Also, Chelsea, our dearest club, got nominated for Men's Best Club of the Year. Also for Women's, because we won a lot of trophies there. We're used to winning that, but now the Men's, Club of the Year, we are there right where we were a few years ago. So it's really nice to see. And what the Club World Cup has done is, we are world champions. It has really put us into everyone's scanner. That is just too big of a performance, too big of a prize money, too big of a competition. Even though some people were only calling it, oh, it's a preseason friendly, it means nothing, it means nothing. Despite some overzealous pundits who can't, hide their uh, biased opinions, you know, uh, despite their opinions that they think that Chelsea, despite have not made any improvements, are not really, you know, have not made any progress. Despite those opinions, Chelsea are, in one of the best clubs in the world, and that is a fact, right? And they can't ignore it. Also, Enzo Maresca is one of the top managers, is a Ballon d'Or candidate, along with the likes of Conte and Enrique and Flick and Slot, right? So there are a lot of people who are rubbing in burn oil because of the serious burns they're getting. There are a lot of people with a lot of green eyes unable to take the success. And they were calling him, he's a championship manager. What does he know, right? And now he's a Ballond'OR candidate with the world champions. Two trophies in one season, finishing top four, with a very young squad, probably the youngest in Premier League, and now a Ballond'OR candidate. And I have to say, how we did towards the last stretch of the season to how we dismantle PSG, has probably has to be one of the best performances I have seen as a Chelsea fan. And I think for me, especially in my lifetime, that is probably one of the best performances I've seen from Chelsea in the final, because we have, always been known to get over the line, but the way we did that was absolutely, I loved it. I loved it. And Maresca absolutely deserves the credit for doing what he did. You can see the structure he has brought into our team, the mentality. Of course, it's just not Enzo Maresca. There's a lot of people in the background that we don't see or hear about that often. But Enzo Maresca, his team, and the background staff, and of course, you have to give credit to recruitment team as well. They all made this happen along with the players. So it's really happy to see as a Chelsea fan, our players, our manager, our club being, mentioned among top clubs and being one of the top clubs. And this is just a start. Let's hope and see, where this journey takes us. So it's a bright start. Let's celebrate it. I know Colwill injury is sad, but let's be happy that this day has happened. And moving on to Maresca and being happy, right? I saw the preseason friendly. Now we won 2-0. I actually wouldn't be too sad if it was we lost 1-0 as well. Because for me, I know a lot of Chelsea fans are like, I saw a screenshot from few Chelsea fans in which they looked like, first 6 games what we are going to do, and they also included Leverkusen and Milan. I don't care personally that if we won 2-0 in this game or lost 2-0, or it's the same with Milan. Preseason's game, it's good to win and it's good to create momentum, but these games are not about results. Last season, a lot of Chelsea fans were panicking with the preseason games. What is happening, what is not happening, and and then there were a bit of crisis mode after the Man City loss. I mean, the manager has just come in. Cole Palmer has hardly had any preseason, so last season, Man City game mattered, and we saw the improvements, the changes that Maresca was making from that point onwards, from the second game of the season, right? So now he has a season under his belt, and you can see the structure, and the players that we brought in, how well they're performing. So first of all, preseason games, Chelsea fans, is for first of all getting your fitness back, getting match sharp, right? Then it's about building team chemistry with your teammates. Then it is about not getting injured, being injury free, and then and only then is it about creating some sort of momentum. If you can create a momentum, is always a bonus, because it creates positivity. But the first 3 things are more important than momentum. Momentum is a bonus, right? These are the key 3 things. So that is what important things are for season. And also you have to take into account that Bayer Leverkusen, this was, I think, their 6th or 7th preseason game, and this was our first. So there were a lot of differences. So I and I'm sure a lot of Chelsea fans who are aware of that and are level-headed, I should say, are not too emotional. Uh, we're coming in with the expectations that, even if it was a flat performance, even if it was a 1-0 loss or 2-0 loss or 1-0 win or something like that, it wouldn't be the end of the world. What was important is that The players got match sharp and were we were able to see some team chemistry, some good build up in some moments, and no injuries, of course, especially with Levi Colwill news. So it was good to see all of those things, and then of course the momentum. We saw Estêvão scoring, so that was really good. He performed really well, and here of course João Pedro scored the second goal. He's really seamlessly fit in with Chelsea. It was really a pleasure to watch him, and we saw a lot of good moments, good things from a lot of Chelsea players. We saw the Enzo Maresca structure that anyone can come in and slot in and have a good, and we can because of the structure and defensively sound we are, everyone can perform well with that structure because there is players know what is expected of them. We saw Cole Palmer getting back to his group right. We saw Dilap we saw Dilla performing okay, decent. I was impressed by Hato. He seamlessly, has fit in with the Cucurella role. I think he can do well, and I'm going to get into that Hato video. I've not been able to do that, but I'll surely do that. Um, who else? Uh, Gittins, Gittins was really good. So I think as you go, he showed why we brought him in. So there were a lot of good aspects. Eselmino, it was good to see him finally get few minutes in Chelsea shirt. It's not something to praise about because it was a very low cut appearance from Eselmino, but it was really good to see him because when we got him from Boca Juniors, I think um, he's highly rated. But we have not seen him since we brought him in, and I'm not sure what exactly is the reason behind it. But it was good to see him finally get few minutes. I know he had like a minute or two coming on in the Club World Cup, but it's really good to see him, come in here and make some passes and do some defending. It was good to see that. And we also saw some solutions with Levi Colwill's injury being presented by because we saw Pong coming in as a right center back and then basically left center back as you know so it was good to see that happen uh, and basically Jorgensen also had a good game, so it was good to see the defensive side and the attacking side. I think there is a good combination there. Hopefully we get Xavi Simons in. If we get Garnacho at 30-35 million, good. Otherwise I'm not concerned. I do want a centre back coming in, and Xavi Simons. So those two are for me, in my opinion. I don't have any sources. I'm just giving you my opinion that these are the signings I would want as a Chelsea fan, looking at what Chelsea, and because with those signings, I think we can have a proper title tilt. Uh, so yeah, that's about it. So Chelsea fans, if you do like the content, please like, subscribe, click on the bell notification icon. It's a growing channel. It's a very young channel. It's only a few days old, so we need all the support we can get. Give it a thumbs up if you do like the content. Leave your comment and thoughts about what you thought about the game, what you think of the content, and yeah, do press on the subscribe button, bell notification icon. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.